I took care of my mother the last 18 months of her life. She was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And during that time as a caregiver, I didn't even know I was a caregiver. I just considered myself the good daughter, the faithful daughter. Well, actually, I wrote a book right before my mother, started writing a book right before my mother died. Completed it, it's called Good Night and God Bless, completed about 5 months later. And when I was out promoting the book, every single time, people would come up to me crying, saying, I think I need help for myself, or my mom, or my dad, or my husband, or my wife. So I, quote unquote, became a caregiver advocate. And I was out in the public trying to do workshops and seminars, and I was doing that for about a year when Jonathan Bowman, the owner of Harmony Home Health, called me and said, how can we work together? So I am now a full-time caregiver advocate with Harmony Home Health, and I go out every single day and run caregiver support groups and workshops and just try to be a resource for caregivers. I know that when I went through my caregiving experience with my mother, I ran around this little tornado saying, I can do it, and not having any idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what respite care was until I was in my bereavement group. And I don't want other caregivers to have to go through this. There's been a recent study by the University of Pittsburgh that 63% of the caregivers over the age of 65 are dying before the person they're taking care of. Because it's the caregiver that has the stress. It's the caregiver that has all the responsibilities, not the person they're caring for. And the caregivers tend to ignore their own symptoms. They're so busy taking their loved one to a doctor visit, they never think of going for themselves. So I want to educate the caregivers so that they know that they're not alone and that there is help for them. Because naturally, in the end, what they want to do is be living long enough to be with their loved one that they're taking care of. So I've heard some terrible stories of worse scenarios that have happened to people because they've ignored this. So it's my mission to get out there and let caregivers know that there are resources, that there is help, and that they're not alone. Journaling workshops are my favorite workshops. In fact, I do many kind of workshops, and I do support groups. And I'll tell you a great story about one of my journaling workshops. About 4 months ago, a young woman came into the Harmony office on a Saturday morning where I give a support group. And that day, she was the only woman that showed up. And I always say, whoever is supposed to be there is who's supposed to be there. And she wept almost the entire time she was there. She's taking care of her dad, who can be a little ornery. She had lost her job, and she didn't know about any resources. Well, we talked that day for about 2 hours. And then she started coming to some of my support groups and workshops. Well, she called me about 3 weeks ago and said, Linda, you're not going to believe this. She said, my sister came to visit, and her sister said, you look wonderful. What have you been doing? And she said, well, I'll tell you, every day I'm going out and I'm walking for at least 20 minutes. Every single day I'm going out walking. Now, her dad's in a wheelchair, and her dad said, well, it's great someone can walk. She then said to her sister, I found out about resources, and I've been going to some support groups and workshops which have just been wonderful. Her dad said, well, I'm glad it's something wonderful for you. Well, the daughter then said to the dad, Dad, we're trying to have a nice conversation here. If you're going to keep being so negative, we're going to go into the other room. The dad said, go ahead, go. So they went into the other room, but the dad was still listening. And the sisters, as they talked, the one sister said, and the most important thing is I've been going to journaling workshops. And now I'm able to get my feelings out. And I'm able to vent in a totally non-judgmental arena. She said, it's been wonderful for me. And the dad said, I'm glad it's been good for you. I'm glad you can get your feelings out. So the two daughters went and spoke to their dad and said, Dad, we're here to help you in any way we can. We want you to feel good. Dad, do you think you would like to journal? Because the dad used to write when he was younger. Maybe. So they gave him a book, and they said he wrote down one sentence, put the book down, picked up the book about 3 hours later, wrote another sentence, and this went on for a period of 3 days. When he was finished, he came to his daughters and said, see, do you want to see how I feel? And he handed them the book. They opened up the book, and the title was, I am tired. I am tired of being a burden to my family. I am tired of taking so much medicine. I'm tired of being stuck in a wheelchair. And the sisters were just heartbroken. They said, Dad, you're not a burden to us. We want to take care of you. And they went through and they addressed every single item that the dad had written. She said, Linda, can I bring my dad into your next workshop? I said, sure. So her dad came and he brought his journal and he told the story. And then he said, do you want to hear what's in my journal now? And he picked up his book and it said, I am grateful that I have a family that takes care of me. I am grateful that I can still feed myself. I am grateful that I still get to go outside. And I can't tell you how much that touched my heart. I'm just trying to help the caregivers. If it can go all the way to the point of helping their loved one too, what a wonderful thing. And now, quote unquote, their life is in harmony. She said it's wonderful. She said her and her dad are getting along a whole lot better, and he's doing different things, and it's just been a better situation. So sometimes it's just that little tiny thing, just that little twist that we can do that can really change an entire situation.